Gavin Krock fell in love with fitness during the COVID-19 pandemic before deciding to join in on the wave of influencers looking to inspire others. He then went on to play Division I rugby at The Ohio State University. Now Gavin looks to continue inspiring others with his fitness journey and continuing to be the best athlete as possible. Finding a passion may be hard, but staying motivated to that passion can be even harder. This is Conversations with Cade. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Conversations with Cade. I'm your host, CadeCracas, and today I'm joined by Gavin Krock, a fitness influencer and student at The Ohio State University. Gavin, thank you for popping by and joining me here today.
Yeah, no problem.
So, for starters, before we begin, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and give the audience somewhat of a base of who exactly you are?
Yeah, I can do that. Basically, as you said, I'm a fitness influencer. Started off on Instagram, I'd say. Made a couple videos on TikTok and continuing to do that now. Athlete at The Ohio State University, playing rugby. D1 rugby, it's club there, but we like to say that we're D1 just because we play some D1 schools. So it's like, we're at that level. And then, welding engineer, working this summer at Caterpillar.
Wow, so pretty decorated background, a lot of different things you're involved in, and we'll just jump right into it. So, fitness influencer, it's not something that you heard about too often per se 5 years ago, but as of recently, it's really jumped into this new light where it seems to be a lot of people are trying to hop on this trend of growing themselves and growing an audience and inspiring people. So, for you, what was that key catalyst in deciding, hey, I kind of want to get into this field?
I'd been working out for probably, I think I started like my junior year of high school, kind of around where COVID started. I think everyone kind of entered their own little self-improvement, episode right through there. So I'd started like doing crunches in my basement and watching this girl on YouTube. Her name was Chloe Ting. I think a lot of people watched her videos, but it was just a main like ab circuit. And so that kind of started it. Then I went to Planet Fitness and I kept it all private for a really long time. And then I was kind of like, I started gaining a little bit of a physique and I started seeing other guys do it, like Alex Eubank. I think everybody kind of knows about him that like works out slightly. Yeah. And so I saw what he was doing and he really like motivated me because I was like, for the longest time, I was like, what are people going to think? You kind of worry about that, other person's input on your content that you're making. And I just had to move past that initial worry of like, why do I even care? We're out of high school now. I'm like, why do I even care about what people are going to think about me posting a shirtless picture on Instagram? I'm like, nobody's going to really care. So I got past that. And I had like an interest in photography and videography already, just like making music videos and stuff like that. And so I was really like, I had all the key aspects of it. And so I was like, all right, I got my camera. Let me just go to the gym, recorded myself doing a workout and posted it. And you start off with like 10 followers.
Exactly.
But now I've got about like 1,800 now. So it's been going good. But I'd say it was mainly just like, I guess the key catalyst overall was just me wanting to like help others with stuff that I've already struggled with. Because I was like, I've already made these mistakes. And if I can prevent other people from making those mistakes just by talking to them and having them reach out to me, I was like, that'd be like a great opportunity. So that was probably like the key catalyst.
Yeah, that's really cool all around, especially considering you talked a little about how COVID was that little spark for you and then you kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, what was that point where you kind of realized, okay, I really don't care about what people think. Let me just go for this.
Yeah, it was my freshman year of college, I think second semester, right after like Christmas break. I was really getting into like photography. Like I'd created a photography Instagram account that was just like me taking like landscape photos because I also had my drone. So I was like I was going down to the river. I was that's in Columbus, and I was taking like sunset pictures. I was going into the parks, taking like nature photos of like deers and stuff. And I was just like, man, I'd really, because there was also the aspect of it where I was like, it would be so cool to have people like recognize me in public and be like, That's the
Exactly.
lifting guy. I was like, you have that aspect where you're like, oh, it'd be so cool to like be someone, like be a big name. So I was like thinking about that, and I was like, only thing prevent me from getting there is this like fear of what are people going to think about me. And so it was really just I got to move past that. Like I'm not going to get to where I want to be if I'm worried about what other people think. And I've heard it from so many other like famous people that like got to where they were because they just stopped caring what other people thought. And they tell others, they're like, stop caring what other people think about you because you're not going to get to where you want to be if you care. So that was,
Exactly.
you know, those types of things help you.
Yeah, no, I would agree completely. I think it's a really good message to spread too, especially coming out of that high school to college phase. A lot of people are still stuck in that mindset of, oh, what if people judge me for this, or oh, what if people think this is weird, or they make fun of me for it, type of thing. But I feel like you really got past that freshman year. And so for
Right.
you, what was your approach to the social media side of things? Because obviously you had a fairly good approach, and you described what you did on the fitness side of things. We'll go in more into depth on that later. But when it came to social media, what was your mindset? What was your idea of what to do? Was it straight to Instagram, to TikTok? I mean, what was the goal there?
So okay, I think I started the first, I started off taking pictures. I know that. It's hard to recall, but I know I started off, I made an Instagram because I was like, that's where you post pictures, that's where you gain a following, that's where you can really interact with people. TikTok was more of a secondary, that's where I'm going to post my videos that I make. Because I had this idea. I, st- I when I, when I first started off, I was like, I'm going to do strictly pictures. And then obviously I was like, I'm in like the music video, like, you know, I'm making music videos with CJ. I'm like, I
Yeah.
have that experience with like video editing. So I was like, why not try to like like my initial idea was like make a movie, like a short movie type of thing of like, a late night workout. Cause like late night workouts are just like a vibe. And I was like,
Yeah.
let me basically just go through what I do and like ending my day, taking pre workout, cooking dinner, heading to the gym, recording the workout, and then like driving back. And it was like in the winter. So it was like there was like light snowfall and I was like, oh, this could be sick. So I went through such a process of making that video. I like would set my camera up on my tripod outside of my car to record myself pulling out of the driveway, set it up in my
Oh
car to
my
record myself
gosh.
driving. And dude, it looked so good at the end. I even sent it to my friends. I was like, is this corny or like, is this like a good video? And they told me to change some things, but overall they said it was good. And I was like, okay, sweet. And then I posted it, got like 100 views. I was like, wow, I really
Oh
thought it
my
was going to like
gosh.
take off. But yeah, to answer your question, I definitely started off on Instagram, just posting pictures. And I was like, well, like my physique isn't really there. And you can't really express your personality through pictures that much. So I was like, if I really want to, because that's why people follow you is because of who you are. So I was like,
That's true.
if if I can express myself and like what I'm trying to do through these videos, then maybe people will start catching on and start like actually, following me for my videos, the type of videos that I make. So, I haven't really had a video blow up yet on TikTok. I got like over 1,000 views, I think, on my, you know, most popular one. But still working on that. Still trying to
Yeah.
make some better videos. But the Instagram's popping.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to setting up your camera in public and taking photos in these videos in public, has that ever been a fear for you, or has that been kind of somewhat
Oh.
normal?
Yeah, that was something, that was another thing where it's like you got to break through that boundary of what are people going to think about you. Because initially I was like, oh man, like I really don't want to get in people's way. Because I've seen like
Yeah.
videos of people like putting up cameras in public and being like, oh, don't step in front of my camera, dude. And like getting angry at people. And I'm like, well, everybody's just here to work out. I'm like, and people have walked in front of my camera too. And I'm like, you're fine. Like they'll apologize after. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're the one trying to work out. I'm the one trying to record, but like I'm in your way. Like I set up my camera across the room. Like you can just walk through it. Like I don't care. But um yeah, that's definitely a fear that I had to get over, especially because I would record myself in like the big gyms at Ohio State, and like you got
Oh,
dudes
wow.
like three times your
Wow.
size, and I'm like, what am I doing recording myself when there's like a dude who can lift 5 times as much as me to the right of me? I'm like, people are just gonna be like, yo, pan the camera over to him. Like, why am I watching you? You know?
Exactly.
So it was
That's
more of,
crazy.
you know, there's the gym Onyx that I work out at home, and that's like an easy one where I can go in late and there's nobody that's gonna be there. So that ideally, like I really enjoy being in an empty gym, but like you don't, that's not something you can really control. You kind of just gotta move past the awkwardness and
Exactly.
you'll be fine. Like nobody really cares that much. That's what I realized is that literally you think everybody's gonna be staring at you, but literally nobody is.
And then on the other side of the fitness journey, I mean, one big thing for you has been your dieting and kind of what you eat. Do you want to run us through
Oh
kind
yeah.
of how that's been going and how much protein you're ingesting per meal?
Protein wise, I think I'm at 280 grams. 280 grams of protein per, or not meal, per day. So that's
Oh
what
my gosh.
I do a little bit of it in the morning, hit a lot of it for lunch, but like the main bulk of it, man. Like when I was in Peoria working my internship, dude, I was eating like 3 chicken breasts for dinner, and like just to get that protein in. But I've been really relaxed on my dieting while I've been in Peoria. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I make sure that I eat healthy, but it's like when it comes down to counting calories, I'm really not there. Like I've learned because my freshman year of college, I counted every single like molecule that entered my mouth. Like any like I had a little food scale. I made sure I counted everything. If I drank like some orange juice, I weighed that out, made sure that I knew how much orange juice I was drinking, and it was just like it was really stressful because if I ate over, I'd just be like, oh great, I'm gonna be fat tomorrow. But it's really not that serious because I think I came to a realization because after that, I mean, sure, like I definitely looked better because I was tracking my calories and stuff, but
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling great, you know? I was
No, I
hungry
get
and
that.
stuff like that, and it's really not worth it. So, and I realized like after I worked at summer camp. I was a videographer for the summer camp, and the food there is just all deep fried and terrible. And I just like let it all go. I was like, I'm not gonna try tracking my meals here. And so for an entire summer, I ate like that. I gained 20 pounds, but I was working out the whole time and I looked great. Like I was huge and like I didn't look fat. And I was like, okay, so tracking calories really isn't that big of a deal. And then I came
Yeah.
back to school on a meal plan and stuff like that. And I just made sure I was eating the right things. Like made sure I had vegetables with every meal, made sure I was, eating some form of protein and tried to avoid like the fried foods. And that's really all you have to do if you want to like look better, is just avoid the foods that you know are bad. And like when you're living alone, like I was in Peoria, I just wouldn't buy it. So that way, when I open up the, fridge or something, I'm like, well, there's not even anything unhealthy to eat here. So like you can kind of just eliminate that yourself, which is amazing.
Yeah. So, what do you think has been some of the biggest struggles in that regard, food wise? Because I feel like that's oftentimes in the fitness space a big issue for some people. It's like, okay, like you said, counting all of those calories and stuff. Like, okay, I can't eat this because this has too many calories, and okay, I
Right.
actually can't eat this because this is bad for me. I mean, has there been any foods that you've missed, if anything, or kind of how's that gone?
I'll tell you, the food I struggle with the most is peanut butter, man. Like,
Oh, that's wait, you
I
can't eat that?
love, you can, but it's got a lot of fat, it's got a lot of
Okay,
sodium, but it's got a lot of protein. So I can eat it, but it's like, it's very high in calories. So,
that
I mean,
makes sense.
I'm used to just like demolishing an entire thing of peanut butter in like 3 days. But if
That's
you do
crazy.
that, you're gonna put on some weight. So that's probably my main struggle is peanut butter. But yeah, probably yeah, peanut butter is probably something I mainly struggle with. I
Yeah. Can you
forgot.
have
Sorry,
fast
what was
food?
your? Sorry, what
Can
was
you have
that?
fast food and stuff like that?
Fast. I stick to Chipotle. Like
Okay.
I haven't had Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, uh, Raising Canes. Like I haven't had any of those in like over a year.
That's
I
crazy.
mean, it helps you save money.
For sure.
You gotta learn how to cook. You can't just, a lot of people when they start out, they're like, man, this tastes awful. But it's like, you just gotta practice with it and then you'll start enjoying the food that you make. Like I started, not gonna lie, I stopped eating chicken, and I switched completely over to pork because pork chops, dude, I learned how to make those good, and it was like then I looked forward to eating that every single day. And you can
That's
find
sweet.
them, and they're low fat, high protein. I mean, pretty much all meat except for like burgers are like low fat, high protein. So it's like
Yeah,
if you just find something that's good for you and you know how to cook it good, like just stick with that. And you can learn how to make the other things, but it's like at least make it so that you're enjoying what you're eating, you know? Or else you're just
that's
gonna be
very true.
miserable. It's not worth it unless you're like competing. Because I know guys that compete and they kind of have to count every single calorie because that's how you win. You got the leanest body.
Exactly. So when it comes to like, I was wondering if this is something that you partake in as well, because you talked about kind of you're kind of getting away from the calorie counting, all that kind of stuff. Do you take like protein shakes and stuff like that, or is that something you do?
I've never been a big protein shake guy. I just I've tried so many times and it's just like once you drink it, I just feel like I'm like a rock. Like it just sinks into my stomach and I'm just like I just don't feel light on my feet. I do take creatine. I've been taking that for like 2 years now, and that's just something that I think everybody should take if you're lifting. I mean, it's completely all natural. Like it's naturally found in the body. You're just saturating your body with it. Just helps with like recovery and stuff like that. I take magnesium, and that like after a workout, and that helps your body relax. Because obviously, I mean,
Hmm.
I take pre-workout before every workout, so it's like when I come back and I'm kind of like jittery and stuff like that. That really helps to kind of even it out. And then I take ashwagandha. I'm not sure
Okay.
if you've heard about that, but
Yeah.
I just started taking that like a year ago.
Yeah.
And
Do you want to
that's
give the
like
audience kind of
also,
what ashwagandha is?
yeah, it's basically helps you relax, helps like the muscles recover, which is a huge thing. I was just looking for things that help your muscle recover because I was doing rugby and lifting at the same time. And so I'd like, we'd be running a ton at practice. My legs would be super sore. And then I try to hit a leg day the next day. And it's just like, I'm not doing anything for myself right now
Yeah.
because I'm just so sore. Or like after a game, your upper body's sore because you're hitting people. So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out all these ways that I can increase recovery. And ashwagandha was one of those. And then it also helps you like it's like I don't know, all these guys on TikTok talk it up as if it turns you into like one of those guys that are like, I'm fighting demons inside of me, don't talk to me. But it's like they say that you become emotionless. I've been taking it for a year, man, and like I'm perfectly fine. Like I don't go around and like I'm super depressed and like I don't want to talk to people. Like no, that's not true. I think they just have an idea in their head and they're like, yeah, I think I want to be that mysterious guy in the corner that has a hoodie on.
The
So
mysterious guy in the corner. That's
yeah, so it's
hilarious.
like it's honestly like helps you relax. I think it stables your mood. I think if you're used to
Yeah.
having like high, like high extreme, I'm not sure about anxiety and stuff like that, but it definitely helps you remain calm. And then yeah, muscle recovery,
For
which is a
sure.
big one for me.
And now a word from today's sponsor. You know what time it is. It's football season. That means in just a few weeks, the NFL regular season kicks off, and you need to make sure you pop by a game this season to enjoy some time with friends or family and see your favorite team play. And SeatGeek can help you get the best bang for your buck while there. SeatGeek is an amazing app that helps you buy tickets in the easiest way possible. They grade seats based on the quality of where you are sitting and the price, helping you find the best seats possible. So please, if you ever need to buy tickets to a sporting event this season, use promo code CRACAS at checkout. That's CRACAS at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Now, back to the episode. Yeah, and when we talked earlier this summer when before you left for your internship, but you discussed something that kind of surprised me and my friend who was with you at the time, and you talked about an egg allergy that you developed. Do you want to talk about that? Because that's absolutely insane, but it's actually something that
Dude,
is, when I looked it up, it's actually fairly normal in the fitness industry.
it is so I hate it. I like eggs were a huge like supply of protein for me. I would have like 8 eggs every single morning, especially when I was at school because I could just scoop as many eggs as I wanted at the dining halls and stuff. But yeah, I literally went away. So I think it happened right after Christmas break because it was right when second semester started. Over Christmas break, I was fine. Um, so my girlfriend, her mom, they have a farm and they raise ducks. Or well, they did. There are no more ducks anymore, but they had duck eggs. I I had never had duck eggs before, but they're like larger and they have more protein and they're like more rich. So they're better, in my opinion, than chicken eggs. So her mom, like gave me some, and I brought them home and I made some eggs. And first day I was fine. Second day I felt a little sick and I was like, okay, it might have just been a bad egg. And then I think we went out. Well, I got back to school, and my girlfriend came and visited me, and we went out to a First Watch, and like I got one of their waffles, and like obviously their waffles have eggs in them.
Yeah.
At this point I didn't know what was going on, so I was like, whatever, just a waffle, nothing's gonna happen. And like next thing I know, I was out of commission for like 3 hours. I was just like in my bed, like one of those stomach aches that just doesn't go away. I was like, what's going on
That's
here?
awful.
Then the next day I went to the dining hall, ate my normal amount of eggs, and then like 15 minutes into my first class of the day, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, dude, I gotta get out of here. I'm funny. I'm just like sweating like
Oh my
profusely.
God.
And the dude next to me, I'm just like, I can't pay attention to anything. I'm like, repeatedly, I'm like bending over and just like putting my face on the desk. And then I'm sitting up and I'm leaning my head back, just trying to like
That's
calm
awful.
myself. And then I keep on looking next to me. The dude next to me is just side eyeing me. He's like, "Yo, what's this dude? Like, what's wrong with this dude right now?"
That's
And I was just like,
crazy.
I was like, I was on the verge of just walking out of that class and going to the bathroom and just like splashing water on my face or something. But it just like it lasted for like 3 hours, and I was like, okay. I was like, now we got to narrow down what's causing the issue. So I every day I went back to the dining hall and I had a small amount of every food that I had that morning. And like
Yeah.
pretty soon I had eggs and I was like, oh, there it is. I was like, because I started feeling a little bit sick, but I only had a little bit of them. So I was fine. I mean, I still felt like a little bit sick, but I was like, I can handle this. I was like, so it must be the eggs. And since then, I have not touched eggs. I've had cookies and that had
Wow.
eggs in them, and I was like, well, there it is again. But now that lasted for a small period of time. But now I can eat waffles, pancakes, not eggs, cookies, like brownies. Now I can eat everything with eggs in them, but I haven't touched whole eggs since because I'm just like I don't want to feel that again. And I've
Do
gotten
you know
used
what
to
it
like not
was?
eating eggs. I have no idea. I think it might have just because I ate like 8 eggs every morning, and if you eat enough of something, your body might just get sick of it.
That's
So
crazy.
it was really
Oh my
annoying,
gosh.
and
No, that
it
would be
sucked.
awful. Oh my. All right, so shifting gears now from your egg allergy or whatever
Yeah, yeah.
whatever that is. Um let's talk about something that's been quite controversial in recent years. And I'd like to hear your input on it and talk a little bit about what it does for you. But
Okay.
pre-workout and excessive caffeine intake when it comes to
Ooh.
working out. So some people have said that I don't know. Some people are on the fence of it's really good. It helps me get a better pump and work out well. Others have advised that it makes them too jittery. I mean, what for you? What's it been like?
Okay, so for me, it's I would say if you like have been working out for a while without it, and like you're getting good workouts and stuff, I wouldn't try it because if you don't need it, then don't use it basically because it's caffeine, and everybody kind of knows an excess dose of caffeine is not good for you. I've been taking it since I started working out, and my resting heart rate is perfectly fine. If it was high, I'd be worried. But like
Yeah.
every doctor check-in that I've gone to, they've been like, "You're fine." So, and I've had like scans on my heart and stuff like that, and everything's fine. So, I haven't stopped taking it just because my body seems to be doing all right.
Yeah.
Um, but I do know people that have had bad experiences with it, where they're left like having an anxiety attack, having uncontrollable like just shakes and jitteriness and stuff like that. That's just not comfortable. And then you have the dude like I think I saw an article about a guy who died because he did some challenge where he basically popped like two energy drinks and then did like four scoops of pre-workout and took it all at once as like a challenge, quote
That's a
unquote challenge,
challenge. Yeah,
and
what?
then died because like your body's just not supposed to intake that much caffeine. So,
Yeah,
I mainly started using it just because my first year at college, I was working out late at night. Um, and by that time, you're really just like, I'm ready for bed, but I need to get a workout in. So like the only way to kind of get that energy boost for me was to just take a scoop of
for sure.
pre-workout and then you're kicking for like 2 hours. And I mean, they say don't take pre-workout within like 5 hours of like your bedtime, but I mean,
Y-
did it and I was falling asleep as soon as I got home. So
That's
I
crazy.
was doing all right, but um, I definitely would say like it's at this point where I kind of just take it out of habit. Like I just take a scoop
Yeah,
of pre-workout before every. Mainly, another reason is that I hate the like creatine. It doesn't have a taste. You can get creatine that has like a taste, so it's kind of like a pre-workout shake. But the one that I use doesn't have a taste, and like drinking it with just water, like I just can't do it. Like you just taste like the little grains, and there's like no taste. I don't know. It's like a weird feeling, and so every time I try to do it, I just end up coughing it up. But so I just put it in with the pre-workout, and I mix it all up as one, and then I can get it down easy. So that's like another reason I kind of use pre-workout. But I mean, it's also
yeah.
just like it's a fun feeling. Like you take pre-workout, and 5 minutes later, you're like, ooh, you're like I'm feeling good now. So I mean, it's kind of a fun experience, and like it's not drugs, so it's like it's just
No,
some
for sure.
caffeine.
So for you, over time, have you had to go up in caffeine intake, or has it remained relatively the same over time?
Yeah, so I'm back down to one scoop, but
Okay.
there was a period in time where so there's this pre-workout brand called Insane Labs. They're not regulated by the FDA. Um, they say
What?
that they
What?
say that on yeah they say that on their container. They say, hey, we're not regulated, so just be careful. And they don't list the amount of caffeine in the pre-workout, but basically their pre-workout hit the hardest for me when I was in freshman year, and I was like, I wonder why. Because there was like an insane amount of caffeine in it that wasn't healthy. um and they, dude, oh my gosh, I should have recognized the sketchiness right off the bat, because they'll text you like once you give them your number. They'll text you and they'll be like, breaking news, new deal every single day, and it'll be like only for
Oh my
you, and it's
gosh.
like get like 20 containers for $100, and I'd be like, what?
What?
I'd be like, that's so cheap, and so I'd buy like huge bulk, supplies of
Oh
this,
my gosh.
and because it hit so hard, and I was like, man, this is like the best pre-workout ever. And then like one day I was kind of like, I wonder if it's healthy. And so then I looked into it, and every review was like, no, stop using this. Like they aren't regulated by the FDA. You could definitely hurt yourself. And at that point, I
Oh
was
my
doing two and a half
gosh.
scoops. I was doing 2.5 scoops every night before a workout. And
Oh
I
my
realized
gosh.
that there were 400 milligrams of caffeine per scoop. So I was doing almost 1,000 milligrams of caffeine before every workout for a couple of
Oh my
months straight.
lord.
And
Did you ever feel
I was
like
like,
different at all, like health wise?
I did not. Like, honestly, I was doing fine. There was one time where I took a caffeine break, I think because I went on like Christmas vacation or something. And then I came back and I tried to jump right back into a double scoop. And like 15 minutes into my workout, I was just in the bathroom, like just, like
Oh
just
my
shaking.
god.
And like
That's
I think I was
wild.
having like a panic attack or something, but that should have like probably scared me off of caffeine forever. But I
Oh my
haven't gone back
lord.
up to two scoops since, and I stopped. I mean, I threw away all my Insane Labs pre-workout. I'm on Rise right now. Rise pre-workout, doing one scoop a day, keeping it, you know,
Oh my
good for
lord!
now.
So what you're saying is you don't advise for the audience to go out there and try this
Def
insane labs.
do not. Please do not. They are, unless they somehow become regulated and they start telling the truth about their products, I'd stay away from them. So
That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. So we talked about caffeine. We got your egg allergy out of the way. We talked about your fitness journey, but how do you balance all of this with both being a collegiate athlete and the actual college life?
yeah, I'd say I try to set aside 2 hours a day for a workout. Last year it was really easy because my dorm was right across the street from like my favorite gym. So I just walk across the street. I could get in and out in like 2 hours. Um, Usually, so one thing I make sure, just because rugby practices are in the afternoon, so I'm like, I got to get all my classes in. When I make my class schedule, they got to be between like 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. So I make sure that's one thing is that I try to get all my classes in the same time of the day. Like, so that way there's no like space between like large space between classes, basically. So then, sorry, my dog just walked in. Oh, there's two dogs now. Uh,
No, no
so
worries.
then, yeah, so I basically just try to make sure that there's no space between my classes, like large space, because I don't want to waste any time. Um, like just like laying around waiting for my next class to start.
Yeah.
So get all my classes out of the way, get all my classes done, and then after that, then I can kind of like open up and be like, okay, now I can go hit the gym and not have to worry about any more classes for the day. Because I've tried working out between classes, and it's like I'm just not focused on working out because I'm like, okay, I still got like I don't know chemistry in the afternoon that I got to work
Yeah.
on. So I try to get it all. I guess I just try to section it off throughout the day. Morning time for classes, midday for working out, and then the afternoon we have rugby. Now, during the season, the weekend, I'm usually gone, like playing games, unless we have a home game. So it's like usually you kind of just, I say rest day, but in reality, you're playing in like over an hour of rugby, like consistently hitting people. So it's not really a rest day, but like that's like the day I don't work out. And then I come back Sunday and I'll like start the lift back over again. So I think Sunday should definitely be a rest day just because of all the exercise and contact that I've experienced throughout the week. But I usually do not hit a rest day because rest days I just feel like I'm like falling behind. I don't know. It's not something I should feel, but it's like you take a rest day and you're like, oh, there's other people carrying the boats right now, you know?
There's other people carrying the boat. That's hilarious. So what's been your collegiate rugby experience been like?
Oh, that's been amazing. Yeah, I mean, I played all through high school. Won states twice, got two rings, no flex.
No, no
But
flex at
yeah,
all.
coming into college, I was kind of like, I don't know what to expect. Like, but entering a college sport, I think anyone who plays a college sport can vouch for the dramatic increase in like technique and skill that's needed. My first game that I played, basically, I'm not going to try and explain the whole game of rugby because that would take a while. But basically, a knock on is when somebody passes you the ball and you try to catch it, but instead you knock it forward. And that's called a knock on, and it's immediately the other team's ball. So in the first freshman year game that I played, I knocked the ball on like 4 times. And that was just like my coach basically after the game was like, you can't be doing that. So like the next like throughout the entire season, I was just focused on my catching skills and my carrying skills. So that way, I
Hmm.
mean, I don't think I mean, I probably knocked the ball on since, but like I can't remember had like the last time I knocked the ball on just because of how much I worked on that singular part of the game and how crucial that part of the game was. Because in high school, I was just used to catching the ball, tucking it in one arm, and then running through people. Because I could do that in high school, but I you can't do that in college because people are trained on how to tackle and they'll punch the
Yeah.
ball out when they go to tackle and stuff like that. So the switch from high school to college has been, incredible and a huge learning experience. And my game has definitely just like dramatically increased. So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I'm playing with a ton of amazing guys. I've gotten to play with a ton of amazing guys that have graduated now. And because it's Ohio State, they bring in like a ton of high level players to help us. So
Yeah.
the MLR, it's called Major League Rugby. That's like the NFL version of rugby in the US right now. It's only been around for like 5 years. Very new sport, but very like highly competitive. And basically, our coaches brought in two guys from Louisiana. That one of them's the head coach of the MLR team down there, and then the other one is a player. And they brought both of them in for an entire fall season, and they helped us train, they helped us practice, they gave us lifts and stuff like that. And that's just like that's something you won't find going to a smaller school. And like
Yeah.
even though we're club, we have such a huge support from like alumni and stuff like that, that we're able to do these things. And like last fall, we two Irish guys transferred over and like stayed with us for a semester and played with us. And like that's like another thing. Just so many opportunities to learn from these guys that have been playing forever.
Yeah, that's
Um,
so cool.
and like a lot of our guys have gone on to get drafted by the MLR. So it's definitely that level of play where you have this opportunity to move on past college and play at like a professional level. So that's what I'm hoping to do. This
Is
year
that
is going
actually
to
like a goal of
be,
yours, by the way?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I would love to continue to play after college. And that's definitely something. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I work out. Because I mean, if you don't have a reason for working out, what are you doing it for? If it's to look better, if it's for a sport. For me personally, it's both. I started off working out to look better, and then it became okay. Now, how do I use this to become more a better athlete? So, um, two reasons why. I mean, I started working out for sure.
That's super cool. When it comes to rugby, I mean, what kind of caught your eye there? Because I remember back in the day, I mean, you played football for a good while. I can't remember if you finished with football in high school, but what was that
Yeah.
switch for you? I mean, rugby is fairly unique in the sense of, I mean, you don't really see people go, yeah, I want to go play rugby, and it's like, oh wow, what?
Yeah. So football, I finished junior year. I did not play my senior year because I wanted to take that um, fall and train for rugby. Basically, I knew I wasn't. I might have started if I really wanted to, but I just didn't have that love for football that I did have for rugby. So like it just didn't give me that motivation to even try.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, rugby. Um, I'd say my dad probably, initially piqued that interest. It caught his eye for some reason. And he would go and watch like the Avon Lake rugby team before I was in high school. He would go and watch them play, watch them win states for the first time in 2015. And kind of continued to push me. He was like, "Hey, maybe you should try this sport out." And I was like, "I don't know. I don't really know what it is." And then one of the guys at my lunch table just showed up to school one day wearing some funky looking jersey. Like it looks like a polo. And I was like, "What is that?" I'm like, "What are you wearing?" And he's like, "Oh, I play like we got a rugby tournament today." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What's rugby?" And he was like, "Oh, well, we practice every like Tuesday and Thursday." He's like, "You should show up." And I was like, "Okay." So I showed up. I didn't play any games, but I like learned how to play the game. And I was like, "Oh, this is pretty fun." And then spring came around, and that's when we play 15s, like the main form of rugby. And I think the main aspect why I got into rugby is because Avon Lake's like one of the few clubs in the area that like has a secure team every year. You got Ignatius and Eds, like the big schools that like recruit overseas and stuff like that. Like obviously they're gonna have a
yeah.
team. But I'm really lucky to like be in Avon Lake and have this team. This is these coaches that don't get paid but are very happy to like train this team every year. And so, I mean, without this team, I probably would have started playing rugby. So it's a lot to, big thanks to the coaches and people
That's
that keep it
awesome.
running here. But yeah, I mean, I loved the idea of no pads because that was like one of the parts I hated about football. And then it has the pace of soccer because I was like, great, like football, you might spend an entire play just pushing up against the lineman and not doing anything, and then that play is over, and you're just like, well, what did I do? Whereas rugby, it's like continuous. Even if somebody gets hurt, It's like they're hurt in a battlefield. Like the game continues to get played around them. Nobody pauses. I mean, unless their like leg fell off or something like that, obviously we'll stop it. But like if somebody, I've seen guys go down and the trainers run out onto the field while the game's still being played, and there's no stoppage until like a natural penalty is committed. Then we stop the game, and then he can be like taken care of. But
That's crazy.
yeah, it had all the aspects that I didn't like about football, and I was like, well, might as well play this game. And like everybody gets to carry the ball. That's something that I think everybody can kind of relate in football, where they're like, well, man, I wish I carried the ball. And I was like a lineman and a D lineman. I was like, I'm never touching the ball. So
That's super cool. So have you actually, so you talked a little about that. You said if someone's legs falling off, they might then stop the play. But since rugby's played without pads, I mean, have you ever suffered any gruesome or bad injuries? And what's that been like for you in that experience?
me personally, I'm very lucky. I have not suffered honestly like many injuries at all due to rugby. I did have my freshman year during the spring season. Um, I thought that I snapped my ankle, but really it was just like a really bad
What?
ankle sprain. Yeah, basically, and this was going up against Michigan, dude. Like the last game I want to get hurt against. And I basically just went to tackle, like there's a big dude running towards me. And I was like, okay, there's basically when you tackle someone, you can either, put all your force into them and try to like stop them, or you can let them run you over and just hug their legs. And like that's like a really common tackle method when you're tackling someone who's bigger than you. Because you just want to secure the tackle. It's not football where like the amount of yards he gains matters. Like if you just let him run you over and you wrap his legs up and he goes down, you did your job. You stopped him. And there's a good opportunity to steal the ball from him there. So that was basically my plan. I was like, I'm just going to wrap up his legs, let him run me over. And so he runs into me. I wrap up his legs, but then my one ankle just doesn't like, it kind of gets stuck. And then there's like a loud snap. And
Wow.
I kind of yell out because I felt pain and I was like, oh, and I like lifted up my ankle because I half expected my foot just to be limp and just like hanging there, but it was
Yeah.
like it was all good and I was like moving it around. I was like, but that hurts also. And so then they took me to the emergency room because we're on campus, so like they just
Yeah.
drove me to Michigan's emergency room and they did some X-rays and stuff and they were like no breaks or anything like that, and like I couldn't walk for probably 2 3 weeks. Like I was in a
That's
wheelchair for a
crazy.
while, then I was in crutches. And honestly, like I've suffered way worse injuries running track. Like, like I
That's
like
wild.
I had my hip detached and like track. Like that injury is way more severe than a little, I mean, I wouldn't say a little ankle sprain because it definitely kept me out for a while and I couldn't walk or run for a really long time. But like other than that, I've just had like shoulder issues, and I think if you talk to any rugby guy, they'll say, "Yeah, my shoulder hurts like all the time," because I
That's
mean, it's
funny.
just like I had a torn labrum in my shoulder
Oh
when
my
I
gosh.
going from senior year of high school to freshman year of college, just from that like states game that we won. I think I hurt it there. So I just got a cortisone shot. I don't know if you heard about those, but that thing was magical and the
I've
pain just
not.
went away. Yeah, it was just a giant needle that they put in my shoulder, and they were like, "Well, yeah, the pain might go away forever or might come back in 3 months." And I was like, "Well, that's the season, so I should be good." And it never came back, so I was like, "All right."
That's crazy.
But I have seen, like, I mean, me myself, I've torn a dude's ACL. I've
That's crazy, dude. Oh
some
my.
dude on my team snapped his leg in half last season. Uh, I mean, we've seen MCLs, ACL tears in both legs, like concussions by actually not that many concussions, but I've never had a concussion that I know of personally, which is like
That I know
unheard
of.
of. Right. That's like unheard of, especially
That is
when playing
crazy.
rugby. But a lot of people say they're like, oh, rugby's more dangerous than football, but it's like we're taught how to tackle correctly. Whereas football, you got guys just spearing people with the top of their head. I'm like, I know so many guys when I played football that were like, I don't care, I'm just gonna throw my body, like my entire head straight into them, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna break your neck. And like,
That's
sure enough,
crazy.
you have a lot of concussions in football because of that head-to-head contact. Whereas in rugby, it's nobody wants to collide heads with anybody. Everybody's taught how to tackle correctly. You know, you tuck your head behind the person when you're tackling them, and there's no, it's illegal to tackle anybody above the shoulders. So it's a lot of solid, safe contact for the most part. I mean, you do get the accidental head-to-head contact every once in a while, and head injuries, but
Yeah.
I'd say I've definitely seen more injuries in football than rugby. That's for sure.
Well, Gavin, I mean, I think it was a fairly good episode. I enjoyed everything that you talked about here today.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
So if you had to give like one final message to somebody out there that would get them to either one, take that next step in their fitness journey, or two, take that next step and try a college sport, I mean, what would you say to them?
I mean, you know, you're only in college once. Honestly, like, it's corny, but like, try new things. Like, you're healthy right now. You're capable of trying all these things. You have all this time at college, depending how long you are. 4 years for me, probably. And it's like, you only got one chance in life to like try these things. So if you're interested in trying rugby, I'd say definitely do it. I've never met a guy who tried rugby and didn't like it. Every guy that I know, you know, they've loved it and probably continued. I know a lot of guys that gave up football or lacrosse for it because they liked it that much. Fitness wise, I mean, just everybody has their own physique and like journey. So it's like, just don't really try not to compare yourself to others, which I mean, I'm guilty of that too. I walk into the gym and I'm like, all right, who's bigger than me here? You know, let me figure this out. But I mean, it's something everybody kind of works on, but it's definitely better. And you definitely have a better mindset when you stop comparing yourself to others.
And if people wanted to follow you on social media and keep up with your journey, how can they do so?
Oh, Krock Fit, GKROCK Fit is the Instagram, and I think it's just Gavin Krock on TikTok. But I mean, I have a link to it on my Instagram, so that should be fun.
Perfect, Gavin. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me, man.
Of course. It was great. And that's all for episode 4 of Conversations with Cade.